You've got big projects to tackle, but your day gets swallowed up by repetitive tasks and constant inquiries. It's hard to make progress when you're stuck putting out fires. That's where Element 451's AI assistants come in. Acting like an extra set of hands, you get your time back for the high-impact projects. Ready to reclaim your time? Visit element451.com/AI team to learn more.
Welcome to Confessions of a Higher Ed Social Media Manager, a podcast that addresses the do's, don'ts, and dynamics of the digital ecosystem specific to higher education. I'm your host, Jenny Lee Fowler. Join me every other week for discussions with some of the best minds in higher education social media management and marketing. Confessions of a Higher Ed Social Media Manager is a part of the Enrollify Network, a robust collection of podcasts designed to help higher education professionals like you grow. Explore our other shows at enrollify.org or check out some of my personal favorites linked in the show notes below. Enrollify is made possible by Element 451, the leading AI-powered all-in-one student engagement platform helping institutions create meaningful, personalized, and engaging interactions with students. Learn more at element451.com. Hi, I'm a higher ed social media manager, and I have a confession. I love the University of Oregon Duck. And my guest today is Jessie Summers, the Director of Social Media and Brand at the University of Oregon. Jessie, thanks for being on the podcast.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm excited to be here.
I'm excited to talk to you about this huge transition that the University of Oregon just went through recently in August, right? Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, so on August 2nd, the University of Oregon officially transitioned to the Big Ten Athletic Conference, which is a big milestone for us. We were previously in the Pac-12 conference. But in addition to transitioning into a new athletic conference, part of that was also becoming a part of the Big Ten Academic Alliance. So this moment wasn't just about athletics and our teams. It's also about the research and academic side of the university. So it's really a big milestone for all of us, not just our athletic side.
That's huge. And I forgot to mention that Jessie and I are both at the American Marketing Association Symposium for Higher Ed in Las Vegas. So I'm going to ask you more questions about the transition, but right now, have you done any gambling, and what have you thought about the conference so far?
I have not done any gambling, but we'll see. I have one more night here in Vegas, so we'll see what happens. But yeah, I've really enjoyed the conference so far. There's been a lot of great sessions. One thing I particularly love about AMA is the community and just getting to meet people, reconnecting with people I met last year, like yourself, during my first time at AMA, but also getting to meet new people and picking up new ideas that I can take back to campus and do even better work with.
It's yes. Last year was my first year too, and it was so good. I'm back this year. But okay, so anyway, back to the topic at hand. One thing that I know we talked earlier, and you said when you transitioned, you ended up sort of meeting and collaborating with a lot of the social media managers within the Big Ten, correct? I love that. And what has that been like working with, I guess, a new community, right?
Yeah, it definitely is a new community. A few of the folks I have known for a little bit. So when I first came into my social media role a little over 2 years ago, I reached out to a lot of folks in higher ed who are doing this job already. I had worked in internal communications and executive communications for a while, but managing social media was kind of a whole new ballgame for me. So I reached out to a few folks, several of whom were in the Big Ten. And so transitioning into the Big Ten now, I kind of already knew these folks a little bit. And being part of the Big Ten Academic Alliance, part of the benefits of that is they bring together different groups across the Big Ten that are leaders in different areas of expertise. One of those is social media. So we get together as a social media director group. We haven't officially had a meeting since I've joined. I think they're kind of retooling the group a little bit, but I look forward to connecting with folks. And I did have the opportunity to go to their Big Ten Marketing and News Plus conference back in June, where I met a few new people who I hadn't connected with before. But yeah, it's been really great to be a part of the community and get to share best practices and learn from folks. But also as part of our Big Ten transition, we got to partner with Ohio State. So ahead of our big matchup with them, we partnered with their institutional account to do a short mini mic, both on our campus and theirs, and cut it into one video that really both of our communities loved. The comments were so positive and encouraging, and it's really great to see how that partnership, which started many years ago when I first was coming to this job, kind of has grown into this something where we were able to produce this fun video for our social media channels.
I love how, sports there are a lot of rivalries in sports, but that the higher ed, like social media manager community came together to do collaborations. And I think that's great. I honestly think that the higher ed social community is really a tight knit community. So I love to hear, another example of that being true. But okay, so for our listeners that may not be as familiar with, collegiate athletics or, don't work at a school with a huge like athletic program, why is something like, transitioning to another sports conference, why is that such a big deal?
Yeah, absolutely. So for us, we've had a few studies over the years, just perception surveys of the institution and other things that have shown when people think of the University of Oregon, typically one of the top things they think about is athletics. Another highly associated one is usually Nike. So for us, making this transition was really an opportunity. We knew that people already thought this about us. So how could we use this milestone to be more than just about athletics? And often in some people's minds, that also equals just football. So how can we make it about all of our sports teams and also more than just sports? How can we use this as an opportunity to shine a light on our academics and our research? So that was really the charge that I was given as kind of the responsible person for our campaign. And we're still in the process of doing this. So even though August 2nd was the day that we transitioned in, we've been producing ongoing campaigns and different content around this topic since then. And we'll continue probably through the rest of this year, and we'll see what happens after that. And one of the tactics that I particularly enjoyed was our Connections game. So we did a UO Connections, which was in the theme of the New York Times Connections game. And so each game, we did 10 of them since we're in the Big Ten. And each game had 4 categories. One was about athletics at Oregon, one was about academics at Oregon, one was about kind of the Big Ten, and then one was just kind of a fun thing. Like, I think one of the categories was like things ducks do or something like that. So that I think to me is a great example of how we connected all of those things in one execution. And we're still really leaning into the fan experience right now and building that, because we're trying to build our audience so that down the road we'll be able to share more messages with them about more academics and research.
Was this primarily a social media effort, or was it an all across the institution campaign and effort?
Yeah, it really crossed all the channels. I was kind of charged with being the responsible person. We use the RACI model in our team, which stands for responsible, accountable, consulted, and informed. And so I was kind of the responsible person I was charged with making sure the execution happened, keeping everything on timeline. My supervisor was kind of the accountable party, so making sure that everything was going. But yeah, I would say social kind of led it, but there were executions across every channel. Our last issue of our university magazine, the whole theme was about Big Ten and the transition. There's great articles about the academic alliance and what it meant for the university, as well as a great article about getting to know the other members of the Big Ten. So introducing our alumni and students to who are these other schools that we're going to be competing against. And then the third kind of article that rounded out the kind of main part of that issue was about research partnerships. So who are the faculty at both Oregon and other institutions that are already doing research together to solve really interesting issues? So yeah, it really crossed a lot.
So that's what you meant by being the responsible party. I was like, oh, it's an acronym. I thought you were just saying that you were responsible. So, which I know that you are. Okay, I got it. That's interesting. Okay, so did you fear any sort of pushback or negativity or trolling from your audience? Because I think we mentioned before, change can be difficult and people can be prickly about it.
Yeah, so I think most of what we saw in terms of maybe a negative reaction happened a year before. So interesting, it was, I think, August 4th of 2023 was when the announcement was officially made that we were going to be transitioning the following year. And there was a lot of pushback because there was a long legacy of us being in our previous athletic conference. And as you mentioned, change can be hard. And why is this change happening? So there were definitely some challenges in that. But when the time came to actually transition, we were prepared in case we did get some of that negativity. But I think overall, there was just a lot of positivity, and we were really focused on celebrating this moment and celebrating what it meant for the university. And overall, I don't think we saw a lot of it. There's a few trolls always, but that just kind of comes with the territory.
And did you have sort of like an active plan of how you would respond to the trolls?
No, we didn't. Typically, we don't respond to trolls or, we're a public institution, so we don't hide comments or delete them as well. So if folks had a thought to share, they were open to sharing that. We didn't see a lot of that, but there were a few, and that's okay. Just happens.
Ignore the trolls. I think that is the best strategy. I think don't give them any oxygen to breathe. So I love that. So that's great. Congratulations. It seems like it was overall positive. What advice would you give to someone that is going through maybe a similar transition or like an equally large transition that is across departmental sort of campaign or effort?
Yeah, that is a great question. So a few maybe different things. One, market research really helps. So as we were in the planning process, we did a little market research as to, what are some other schools that recently transitioned to a different athletic conference? What did they do? Was it mainly social? Was it messages from their leadership? Kind of what did that look like? And so that helped inform the plan we made and gave some options for leadership to make decisions on what executions that they want to see. So that was super helpful. But really what I think helped this be so successful was the relationships that we had built. So a special shout out to the Big Ten folks because they were super supportive throughout this entire process and really have been very collaborative with us, both offline, but also on social and helping amplify our content and provide us resource and guidance as things happen. But also just the collaboration with our athletic colleagues has been huge. When I came into my job, I made a point of kind of figuring out how the institutional account related to our athletic accounts. And where we kind of landed was the institutional account is really fan focused and kind of more that fan experience, while athletics really focuses more on that athletic competition and what's happening on the field, who are our student athletes, and kind of doing the storytelling around that. So that's kind of having that lane set up ahead of time really helped us know where our lanes were as we went through this process and be really collaborative and work well with each other. So special shout out to them. But also even just continuing on this collaborative theme, one of the other social media managers in the Big Ten, Jill at Indiana University, during the transition, I think it was about a week or so ahead of the official August 2nd date, there was a giant inflatable duck that showed up in Indianapolis. And obviously I I wasn't there. I actually didn't know that it was going to happen. So it was really surprising to me coming to the office that morning and seeing that. And Jill was kind enough to send me photos that we were able to use on social. So to me, that really captures kind of the Big Ten collaboration across institutions and how supportive the social media community is, like you were talking about.
I love to hear that. And that duck was definitely a moment because that reached my social feeds too. So that was great. I love that. Okay, so I can't let you go before I ask you, Jesse, what is your confession?
So I think my confession is most people, I think when they look at me, even when I'm here at AMA, I'm very put together. I'm very branded. I've got, the Nikes on. I've got a Nike t-shirt. And even when I'm back on my campus, I think I give the air of having it very put together and everything under control. I think my confession is I don't have it all put together and I'm still figuring it all out as I'm learning more. Social is just such a evolving space and is always changing. And that's really one of the reasons I love my job so much is because there's always an interesting problem to solve. But yeah, I don't have it all figured out. So if someone does, I'd love to meet them and figure that out.
I mean, Jesse, who among us has it all figured out? I think the fact that you're in a space where you're saying, I always am open to learning more. I think that's the big thing you have to figure out as a social media manager, because I think we're all sort of like trying to figure it out as we go along. Jesse, it is always a delight to talk to you. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me at AMA.
Of course. Thank you so much, Jenny.
Confessions of a Higher Ed Social Media Manager is part of the Enrollify podcast network. If you like this podcast, chances are you'll like other Enrollify shows too. Our podcast network is growing by the month, and we've got a plethora of marketing, enrollment, and higher ed technology shows that are jam-packed with stories, ideas, and frameworks, all designed to empower you to be a better higher ed professional. Our shows help higher ed marketers and admissions professionals find their next big idea and feature a selection of the industry's best as your hosts. Learn from Jamie Hunt, Allison Tercio, Mallory Wilsey, and so many others of your favorite leaders in higher ed. Enrollify is made possible by Element 451, the leading AI-powered all-in-one student engagement platform, helping institutions create meaningful, personalized, and engaging interactions with students. Learn more at element451.com.